hello everyone, and welcome to our monthly recap stream. I'm Fruxius. We also have Bob, our finance officer. We have Nex streaming. We got Ariel. We'll get to her later. We got H's from content and Ru from the content team, and we got Chroma from marketing. So we're gonna do we're essentially gonna go over all the cool stuff that happened over the past month with Resonite. There's a lot of things that happen every month with development. We've closed the 94 GitHub issues. So there's progress, a lot of small things and so on. What we want to do is focus on the bigger ones, the more noteworthy things that happened over the past month. So let's move to our first topic, which is performance optimizations. So this month, we worked some more on the performance things. One of the major things that got improved, whenever people join a session, especially when it's a big session, sometimes there would be a hitch, where the voices and the poses, the hands moving around, it would stop for a bit, and that they would make those sessions harder to exist in because we have to pause conversation. One of the reasons this actually got prioritized is because earlier, when we did the Net 8 upgrade for the headless, that has significantly helped with performance for hosting big sessions. And what we notice is this initial lag, when people are able to host bigger and bigger sessions, it will essentially get a lot worse. So since this was a relatively small amount of work, it got prioritized because it's an issue that keeps those sessions from being usable, especially with something also Monday karaoke sessions, where people are singing and it interrupts them. There's a lot of smaller optimizations through it as well. Since the system's been reworked, we found a bunch of small things that were taking more performance. And the system's reworked using something called taskbar library. So the whole processing is more parallelized. It's more asynchronous. So things don't end up blocking the main world and the processing. And they should help with overall performance on those things. There's been things where, for example, memory wasn't being handled properly, so it was causing GC pressure, which in turn lowers the frame rate as well. So there should be some small improvements, but the main thing is it improves, it pretty much eliminates that voice and pose H and makes those sessions easier to run with that many users. There were some other benefits for it as well, since the system, the previous implementation was very messy and it was hard to work with because it was a jumble of callbacks and switch statements and so on. Now it's a lot more structured, and that helps improve the quality of the code, and it improves us with more. It makes it easier to make bug fixes, security and privacy improvements, which actually we'll get into later, as well implement more features in the future. There's some other things that have been going on. Some things that are not shipped yet, but they've been working on because our major goal for performance is to move the graphical client to .NET 8. This framework that provides much better performance than what the mono framework that's currently in Unity. And there's 3 things that need to happen before that. One of them is the particle system needs to be reworked to be a fully custom system. So it's all on our side, and the work actually started on that one already. It's currently in the design phase for that. There's also, we need to rework the audio system, and there's one component for that, where we need to implement reverb. And the last thing is going to be reworking the Unity integration, so it can be designed in a way where it can be communicated between 2 processes to the new system, and that's going to pave the way for the system to be implemented, and it's going to remove another blocker for the big performance update. Once we have these 3 things in place, we'll be able to move the majority of our code into Net 8, or possibly Net 9 by the time it releases, and have the Unity just handle rendering and communicate via inter-process communication. So there's my progress on 2 of those blockers on the particle system and the audio. There's some other stuff Pro Prime, was one of our engineers. He has moved the bridges and the relays, which handle. They handle establishing connections, and in case connection can be established directly, they can handle actually transmitting the network communication. Those have been also moved from the mono framework to .NET 8, and that has significantly improved their performance. It went from something 70, 80 nanoseconds per update to 4. So that's been a very drastic performance improvement. that has also helped improve the stability because especially the US on the US West, the relay and bridge, those were like the machines that were handling those, their CPUs were constantly at 100%, and it's been causing like degradations, like where it wasn't like handling the networking like well enough. And with this upgrade that has been implemented, just moving them to like 2.8 and kind of improving the code as a bit as well, those problems are now pretty much gone. So we're going to be like working over like in the upcoming month, like there's going to be more performance optimization work, especially like sort of like paving the way towards that with the particle system and then the audio system. So stay tuned. There's a lot more to come, but that's kind of like the state like where we're at. For our next topic, we have a number of like content team additions. So for this one, I'm gonna hand it off to Aegis, who's our content lead.
So, with some of the work that we've been doing, we've been mainly focusing on kind of internal cleaning up, organizing things, as well as starting to focus on Battle Knights more now. And additionally, Ryuvi has been working on a new avatar refresh of the default avatar, including like new eye and mouth blend shapes and meshes, as well as like bit updates here and there and a tweak of materials and such, as well as within Battle Knights, a new revision to the house system and weapon system that we've been working on to make it more performant. And definitely a system like that would benefit heavily from things like .NET 8. That'd be really cool to see when that gets developed and using it as a test bed for that too. Essentials folders have had a significant reorganization done to them, where more things are kind of tidied up, as well as new things added to them. A lot of textures and materials. Eventually the raw assets of all the tools, the cloud home, the avatar, basically anything in this style that we've been doing, as well as other things, will also be included in the essentials at first, probably elsewhere as well. Things like music and sound effects as well too within the essentials, as well as we did update our supporter badge. It now is a generic badge that has like a metallic sheen on it. Brooks has one.
Supporters.
Yeah.
So I have a video that I brought in. This is the new avatar. It's like a showcase that they've always been working on with the mouth, and also has eyebrows.
Testing. Visemes, it's smooth talking. This is work in progress, but almost there.
So we should be good to move to the next topic. So one of the things that's been kind of like added like previous month, like we added like the new system for the like procedural animation, and it was quite like good like in the initial kind of state, and we've been kind of working on like improving it, making it so it kind of behaves better, so it kind of freaks out less, being getting like lots of feedback on it, and that kind of help like iterate on it. There's still like more work to do on it, like we kind of want to keep like iterating on it as well, but a bunch of the problems that were like with it, like they should be much improved. Like for example, one of the issues that people had is like if you're in VR, the feed would be like constantly just tippy tapping around. So we had like a system that kind of better like detects like if you're actually like trying to move or not, and it behaves like better in like in the thing. There's also like one nice feature that got added as well with the system is we now have a mechanism for adding footstep sounds. Since the system kind of like drives the feed and figures out like this is like when the foot actually reaches the ground and makes like a footstep, it now sends an event, and you can either hook into these events with protoflag, so you can we can do pretty much whatever we want and receive an event like when a footstep happens. Some people have been using it for effects like where it kind of like makes like little like paw prints as you kind of walk around. You can pretty much like do like anything you need. Just like other components that make it easy to set up sound effects. So you can essentially tag and say like for example, this makes these wooden sounds, and this makes like metal sounds when you walk on it. You can like provide a range of sound effects. You can even say like these sound effects play for this velocity, this play for this range of velocities. It can be like modulated, so it kind of changes based on like how fast the user is running. So that also kind of like going to make the worlds a bit more like immersive, like having the footstep sounds. It does work also with splat maps as well, because those allow you to have like multiple materials on the surface, and you can essentially say this is the splat map, and the system will figure out like which part of the terrain you're stepping on, and it will sample the splat map texture and decide like which sound to play. Another thing that I kind of touched on earlier has been made not quite possible, but it's made much easier to implement thanks to the performance update. Because of the rework of the handling of the session networking, there's been improvements to privacy. When users get banned on Resonite for like any reason, that status is part of their profile. And previously, that status would be available through the public API. One of the reasons is that like when somebody joins a session, both the host and also the user joining the session, they need to know if the user they're trying to join or who's trying to join currently has any account restrictions applied, and needs to figure out like are they actually allowed to join this world, or are they kind of being restricted, like for example like the spectator. For that, it needs that information. What we did is, and the system was like reworked, like where when the user is joining, they essentially give the host like a temporary one-time access key. The host like uses to fetch that information, so they can verify it at the moment of join, but they cannot like just query that information at any point in time. It needs to be something that's initiated by the user trying to join the session. They get like one-time kind of access to the information, and at that point, like unless the user tries to join again later, they're not able to get like updated status at later point. And one of the things that's been much easier is because the system for the session has been reworked and the code is now much better structured. Implementation of this kind of privacy improvement has been made much simpler, where it's been like a relatively small change, and like it only took like a few hours at most to implement. So hopefully that kind of helps, with some of the kind of concerns that the community had about the status being available in public. The other part, we also have like lots of new nodes for like easing functions and so on, has been implemented by Ruby. So there's a lot of like different like functions, like cubic, quadric, quintic, and whatnot. There's like there's a lot of them. So if you want to check them out and play with them, like you can go to either the protoflex, there's like nodes, or if you use the twin components, it's available through those as well. So this should like help making like things smoother, like and animating things like much easier, because now they're kind of built in. Like in February, when there was the Metaverse Maker contest, there were actually 2 entries that I remember that implemented a lot of these kind of easing functions, either in protoflex or via the gradient like driver. So it looks like something like people like find very useful. So hopefully like these nodes will kind of simplify these things a lot. There's some like other quality of life improvements. For example, the command for like changing a group name is now being available to group owners. Previously, if you wanted to change, you need to make a support request and it would change it for you, but we now made it like self-service. There's another thing, this is also related to privacy. We introduced a tool for people if you, for some reason, if you don't want to have like a Resonite account anymore, we added a tool where you don't even need to launch Resonite to schedule your account to be deleted. And this also works in cases like when there's a ban applied to your account, which is a rare scenario, but it can happen. So this kind of gives people who, like easier ways to kind of like, essentially, take control over the data and remove it if you no longer wish it to exist on our servers. That kind of helps like, also comply with like, various like privacy laws, like GDPR and so on. The tool should be like pretty easy to use. You essentially just launch it. You make your selection whether you want to like, schedule your account to be deleted, or if you want to cancel that. And then just, type your credentials. And if you're scheduling it, it's gonna schedule it to happen a week. And you're gonna get emails throughout it. And at the end of the week, unless you cancel it, it's gonna get deleted. So it very much like works the same as the command like in game, except you don't need to launch entire Resonite to trigger it on. So that's another thing that like helps along like with the privacy and giving like giving the users kind of more agency over their, over their accounts and data. I think it should be kind of like the main like major things for like the quality of life improvements, which means we can move to the next topic, like which is a pretty exciting one. We have a new team member. We have Ariel Emerald, who's joining the marketing team, and she'll be assisting with like marketing, graphic design, and more. So welcome, Ariel. Like we're very happy, like to have you here. Ariel's already kind of been working like with us, and especially with Chroma for a bit. And we've been very excited to like have her on. So is there anything like you would like to like say to introduce yourself?
Here. Yes. Hi, everybody. I'm Ariel, and they gave me this spicy chicken nugget for some reason. I'm not entirely sure why. It is tasty though. But yes, I'm a filmmaker. I'm known for some of my VR chat films that I've done, which have been nominated at Raindance Immersive. I've been involved in a lot of different content and production teams in VR chat and other places, and I've had a lot of experience creating media and promoting it, and I really care about VR. I've really seen how VR can change people's lives, and I really believe in this platform. Resonite is just so cool. I really think that Resonite is such a really incredible, strong foundation for the future of VR, and I'm really excited to be a part of this team and to be helping them promote Resonite to an even wider audience. So I've been welcomed very warmly by the team, and I'm really excited to be a part of this community, and I want to invite the community to reach out to me. I'm really excited to work with you guys in the future. If you have anything interesting you want to show off, my Discord DMs are open. You can reach out to me. You can add me on Resonite and come and see me here. Anything like that. I'm super open, communicative, and I'm just really excited to be given this opportunity to be part of this team. Thank you, everybody.
Well, thank you very much. That was like the really great introduction. And like we're very like happy to like have you with us and like working and like helping promote Resonite and showcase like what this platform is all about. So with that, like we should be able to move to the next topic now, which is the business office hours with Bob. So Bob, take it away.
Hey everyone, glad to be here for another recap stream. All three of us are back at the Business Factory with a lot of fresh adult business stuff to show you. My top mouth isn't moving because this report is being presented by my midsection. On our first slide, we have the monthly breakdown of our Patreon income and fees. Total revenue has been consistent over the past 6 months at about $19,000 plus or minus a few $100s. Patron fees have remained quite high at about 14.5%. So we're really excited to report progress on our Stripe implementation, and we'll be reaching out to mentors to start user acceptance testing in the upcoming weeks. Once it is thoroughly tested, we will make it available for the general community. Please stay tuned for further announcements. We can also report that new user growth has remained steady over month. Our Patreon subs have remained flat. Our membership has been extremely consistent this past year, and we thank those that continue to support us. When we do make Stripe another available option, we kindly ask you to make that transition if possible, and future reports will have like the combined Stripe and Patreon subs. Now, speaking of supporting us, let's move on to the next slide. We sincerely thank those that have pre-ordered the t-shirts from our new store. We have sold several hundred of them, making our initial campaign a large success. Special shout out to Nexalon for pushing this initiative and promoting the shirts. This was our first foray into merchandising, and while there have been a couple of hiccups, there we go. So while there have been a few hiccups with the launch of the shirts, we believe our vendor Marauder Merchandise did a great job providing customer support to resolve these issues. This has influenced our decision to expand the offerings with that vendor. As fall is approaching, many of you have expressed explicit interest in a certain cold weather item. We will be having conversations about this in the following weeks, so keep your eyes out for any announcements regarding stuff on our store. For the past couple of months, we've been working on a white paper called The Future of Virtual Reality. With our 1-year anniversary of launch coming up this Sunday, we wanted to communicate to all of our users, education institutions, business clients, and governments what we see this technology accomplishing. Special shout out to our new marketing associate, Ariel, for crafting a lot of the language used in the final version of this document. We want to build the best possible social VR experience and give all of our users the ability to create anything they can imagine. But we also want to see the Fruits engine used for a lot of other things, such as university students like in Twente in the Netherlands learning Protoflux alongside other game engines. Also, research institutions like the University of Sydney and others utilizing the tools to publish actual research. Businesses like Metamovie creating unique experiences for our users, with entire industries springing up around serving the Resonite user base. Museums, art galleries, and zoos allowing people from around the world to visit them virtually. Game development studios creating content in the Resonite public universe, but also standalone experiences powered by the Resonite and Fruits engine. Mainstream media companies doing live broadcasts from within Resonite, which include, something that might be happening in Japan in the not too distant future, and then also governments using our technology for infrastructure design and safety training. These are just some of the things we've been working on in our first year, and there are so many applications for Resonite. Our hope is within 5 to 10 years, Resonite becomes a household name. We thank everyone that's been supporting us so far on this journey. Please stay tuned for next month's recap stream for exciting new updates on our progress.
Well, thank you so much, Bob. It was an excellent update. I've been watching some of the channels people posting there is a night shirts as well, and it seems like people being very excited about getting those and sharing pictures. So this pretty much concludes our main topics. So at this point, we're gonna open things to questions from the community. Unless am I forgetting anything? I think
We do have a costume contest coming up. So yeah, we have a costume contest that's going to be going out through this month of October. It's going to be a lot of fun. You can basically dress up your avatar. You can have a funny category, a spooky, scary category, a unique category, and ones for couples or groups. So definitely have that in mind. We made an announcement about it on our Discord, so just check on there to see how to enter and what you have to do for that. But this is our first time doing this sort of thing, and hopefully it works out and we can do more of these in the future.
Yes, I'm very excited for this. It's one of the fun things about Halloween is just spooky stuff, and there's this excellent artwork. It's very spooky.
Hats off to Chroma for that one. Looks great. Yep.
Yes.
So start getting in questions, everyone, and we will answer those for you.
This question, Navy 3001 asks, if an item is an extension of an avatar, would it count to be decorated? Okay.
I mean, like an item on an avatar?
Yeah, if you put an item over your avatar, let's say, for example, right now, Fruxius has on a hat or Rue has on this pumpkin head, this would technically count as a form of a costume.
Next question, emergency temporal shift. Can we get stream commands? Ooh, there we go.
There we all go.
Next we have Chuck the Fox Otter. I'm curious about the multi-process architecture plans, more specifically about...
Uh-oh. The floodgates have been opened.
Good. So next we have Chuck the Fox Otter is asking, I'm curious about the multi-process architecture plans. Very good. More specifically about what kind of things that architecture will unlock beyond obvious immediate stuff. There's a lot of
Oh no!
On second thought, this is not too conducive to answering questions.
You guys can have a good 1 minute, get it all out of your system.
Spam it now.
Or we're ask us questions, or nobody asks any questions, and we get to keep using the commands. But then we don't have any questions.
Well, they do.
So for the multi-process architecture, one of the cool things is one of the there's two main reasons why we're doing it initially. One of them is for the performance, because if we essentially split majority of our code to run in its own process, we then control what kind of runtime we use for the process. Whereas when it's running inside of Unity, we essentially have to use whatever Unity has. There would be ways to run it within Unity itself. We could try to integrate it. But there's like a reason we don't want to do that, because one of the other benefits is the multi-process architecture is something that web browsers use, and they use it for both stability and for security. And pretty much like the reasoning of that is you essentially split like the processing into multiple processes. So like for example, you can have like one process per web page. The web page does something wrong that only crashes that single web page tab. But also, if it's like isolated instance of its process, that makes it easier to sandbox, to isolate the process, so prevent it from doing any harm to your system. The other part is like the stability. So for example, if the world crashes, it doesn't crash entirely of Resonite. You essentially just end up crashing that particular world, but you still have your dash open, which is another of those benefits. And somebody's they're gonna come like over time, because like even the multi-process architecture is like it's a continuous kind of process. It also opens some other cool things, because now we can do things where, for example, we could essentially run the dash like as a separate application, so you could potentially run it on top of other applications like other than Resonite. So you could have your Resonite dash, but be running say even VR chat or Minecraft in VR, or like whatever game you want to play. One of the things we want to introduce at some point are sort of like overlay worlds, sort of like a bubble world, where you're in a particular world and you have like additional world that's like a layer on top. So for example, you're in a world where you don't have permissions, but you want to do like little protoflags, you add like extra layer world and you do your work there, and people cannot see that unless they also join your layer. You could have that layer on top of other applications and open a lot of kind of cool interactions where you can now integrate like Resonite with other apps and use it like a extra like, kind of social layer or like work layer or whatever like you want to do, because pretty much like all the tooling have it in Resonite, you can now use on top of any other application. Say like you want to put like a Twitch stream like there, or you want to like put some controls and stream it to the application you're running. So there's going to be a lot of kind of cool applications that this will open in the future, and it's one of the reasons we want to move the overall architecture of the engine like this way. So hopefully that like answers like that question. Mapek is asking, do the bobs have a fixed stacking order, or do you mix it up?
Yeah, so about that, being identical triplets makes it a lot easier. I mean, like being a singular adult man, I don't see how that question is relevant.
Yeah.
It's whoever grabs the trench coat first.
So Navy 3001 is asking, is a better version of the stream camera planned? I run into a lot of problems with in the rest of my videos. There's a bunch of improvements we want to do with it. The UI is going to be reworked, some of the functionality as well. If you run like into like specific problems, what I recommend doing is making a GitHub issue about them, because if you don't, like then essentially like you run the risk of like like either we will already address the issues you have, but since we don't know what they are, they might not end up getting addressed. So like if you can like share with us like what problems you run into specifically, if you can like share what problems you run into specifically, we can make sure when we do rework it, that we try to address those issues as well. So those were like all the questions. So thank you very much everyone for joining the stream and like for listening us ramble about like stuff that happened on Resonite. Thank you everyone for welcoming Ariel. And thanks everyone like for like being here, like helping with the stream and like doing all the cool stuff.
Yes, welcome Ariel.
Yes.
As we go into the ground.
And also thanks to everyone like in the community for like supporting us. We wouldn't be able to be continuing to work on this platform like without your help. Thank you for making all the cool stuff like you're making, and like just making this platform kind of like alive every single day. So thank you very much. Thank you for watching, and we'll see you with the next one.
Yep. Thank you so very much, everyone. Enjoy the rest of your day.